All right, let's talk about globalization, baby. Just kidding. We're going to talk about something far less funny and far more depressing. Even in our modern world, some countries are struggling, and I'm not talking about a mild recession. I'm talking about full-on economic despair. And you know who gets the shortest end of the stick in those situations? Women. It's like their value gets reduced to bearing children and playing housewife. And in some extreme cases, it gets even worse than that. I'm talking about the deeply disturbing world of bride buying. So buckle up, because today we're taking a trip across the globe to explore 10 countries where brides are still treated like commodities. Our first stop takes us to Europe, but don't think for a second that this continent is immune to backward practices. Bulgaria, a country better known for its stunning beaches and delicious yogurt, has a dark secret. In some parts of the country, they have these things called bride markets. And no, it's not some quaint flea market where you haggle over hand-knitted tea cozies. We're talking about young women, some even teenagers, being dressed up and paraded around like prize ponies for potential husbands to assess. And the worst part, their families are often complicit in this, seeing their daughters as a quick way to make a buck. The price can range from a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars, depending on, well, you know, how they size up. It's like something out of the 1800s, only it's happening right now. Next, we travel to the world's most populous nation, China. Now, you might remember China's infamous one-child policy, which, as you can imagine, had some unintended consequences, namely a massive gender imbalance. It turns out that when you prioritize male children for, carrying on the family name and such, you end up with a whole lot of single men down the line. And in a culture where marriage is practically mandatory, that creates a problem that manifests in sky-high bride prices. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. It's gotten so bad that women are being kidnapped and trafficked into forced marriages. It's a dystopian nightmare fueled by a demographic crisis. Our next stop takes us to Southeast Asia, specifically Malaysia. Now, Malaysian women, particularly those of Chinese descent, are often portrayed as being quite open-minded, even fascinated by Western culture. And let's be honest, who can blame them? Have you seen what passes for dating apps these days? It's a wasteland of shirtless gym selfies and bad pickup lines. Anyway, this fascination with the West has fueled a booming mail-order bride industry. For a few $1,000s, a man can essentially order himself a wife online. And while some women may genuinely be seeking a better life, others are lured in with false promises and end up trapped in abusive relationships. Chapter 4: Egypt, Beauty and Betrayal. From the bustling streets of Kuala Lumpur, we now travel to the ancient land of pyramids and pharaohs, Egypt. Egyptian women are often lauded for their beauty and loyalty, qualities that unfortunately make them prime targets for exploitation. In recent years, there's been a disturbing trend of wealthy, older men, particularly from Gulf Arab countries, essentially purchasing Egyptian brides. These women are often from impoverished backgrounds, and their families are enticed by the promise of financial security. But the reality is often far more grim. Many of these women end up isolated in foreign countries, subject to the whims of their husbands and often with little recourse if things go sour. Chapter 5: Latvia, Beauty and Brains for a Price. Our journey now takes us to Northern Europe, to the Baltic nation of Latvia. Now, Latvia is known for its stunning natural beauty, its rich history, and of course its women, who are often described as being both beautiful and highly educated. But even in a country with a high standard of living, the allure of quick money can be hard to resist. The mail-order bride industry has taken root in Latvia as well, with thousands of women creating profiles on these websites hoping to find a husband who can offer them a better life. And while some may find love and happiness this way, others end up in situations that are far from ideal. It's a gamble, and the stakes are incredibly high. Chapter 6: India, Trapped by Tradition. Our next stop takes us to the vibrant and complex nation of India. India, as you know, is a country steeped in tradition, some of which are beautiful and life-affirming, while others are, well, less so. The dowry system, for instance, where the bride's family is expected to pay a hefty sum to the groom's family, is still prevalent in many parts of the country. This often puts families in crippling debt and can even lead to violence against women if the dowry demands aren't met. It's a practice that has no place in the 21st century, yet it persists. A stark reminder of the challenges that still exist in achieving gender equality. From the bustling streets of Mumbai, we now travel to the southern tip of Africa, to South Africa. South Africa, like many countries on our list, has a long and complicated history, one marked by colonialism, apartheid, and more recently, efforts at reconciliation and rebuilding. But amidst this complex tapestry, certain traditions persist, one of which is the practice of lobola, which is essentially a bride price paid by the groom's family to the bride's family. Now, lobola is often seen as a way to honor the bride's family and to solidify the union between the two families. However, critics argue that it reduces women to mere commodities and perpetuates a cycle of gender inequality. Our journey now takes us to a country ravaged by conflict and instability, Afghanistan. Under the Taliban regime, women's rights have been severely restricted. Forced marriages are rampant, with girls as young as 12 being sold off to much older men. Education for girls is limited, and they are largely confined to their homes. The situation for women in Afghanistan is dire, to say the least, and it's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and oppression. From the war-torn streets of Kabul, we travel to the lush rice paddies and bustling cities of Vietnam. Vietnamese women are often portrayed as being hard-working, family-oriented, and respectful of tradition. However, in recent years, there's been a growing trend of Vietnamese women seeking foreign husbands, particularly older men from developed countries. This trend is driven by a number of factors, including economic hardship, a desire for a better life, and in some cases, a lack of suitable partners in Vietnam. While some of these relationships are undoubtedly genuine, others are purely transactional, with women essentially marrying for financial security. Our final stop takes us to the technologically advanced nation of South Korea. South Korea is a country of contrasts, where ancient temples stand in the shadows of towering skyscrapers. It's a place where tradition and modernity collide, and nowhere is this more evident than in the realm of love and marriage. South Korean women are increasingly turning to foreign men, citing cultural differences and a lack of compatibility with Korean men as reasons for their choices. However, this trend has also fueled a dark underbelly, with some foreign men exploiting the situation for their own gain. Well, there you have it, a glimpse into the dark side of globalization. From the bride markets of Bulgaria to the forced marriages of Afghanistan, the commodification of women is a global crisis that demands our attention. These are not just statistics, these are real women with real lives, hopes and dreams. We need to challenge the cultural norms and economic disparities that perpetuate this practice. We need to empower women, educate girls, and hold those who exploit them accountable. The fight for gender equality is far from over, but it's a fight we can't afford to lose.